Hello everyone and welcome to our family harvest box for January. This month's feature harvest is carrots, so I wanted to join you with our carrot harvest of the month family harvest box today and take a look at a deep dive into carrots. So we're doing this a little bit different than we have in the past. So previously I've uploaded our trainings on YouTube and they've been exclusive to our box participants. So this month we are doing something different and we're putting our trainings on Facebook Live, and if you have the box you can follow along, and if you don't, then you can still watch the training and get the information so that we can get that out to you guys and you can learn a little bit more about your food and where it comes from. So this month we are doing carrots. So I've got some fun carrots here. So I've got a yellow, I've got purple, I've got an orange, got a white one. So all sorts of different types of colors of carrots. And it doesn't matter what type of color of carrots, they all have pretty much a similar flavor. They're all going to taste carroty, but they're not all going to have the same nutrients, vitamins in them that orange carrots do. So obviously orange ones are going to have beta carotene in it. The purple ones aren't going to have as much as the orange just because the color is different. So today we're going to talk a little bit about about how carrots grow and how they're harvested and kind of what you can look for when you're shopping for carrots in the grocery store and how you can use them at home. So it's going to be a quick lesson for everybody. So stay tuned and we will share a little bit about our carrots. So the first thing I did want to mention is our February harvest box is up and ready to go. And if you want to register for that, it is our link to the website is bit.ly/familyharvestbox. And that will take you to the link to sign up for our February box, which is maple syrup. So February is usually the start of maple syruping season. So that is a great time to check out our local maple syrups. The box will include a local maple syrup. It will also include maple granola as well as pancake mix. So we're going to go through and explore maple syrup in February. So do join us for that. So without further ado, let's get started on carrots. So carrots I've got some carrot seeds here. Obviously they're not growing outside right now, but you can still find some carrots locally from producers that have stored them since this fall. Carrots do store pretty well. So there are some carrots available here and there. But carrots are actually related to, if you've ever seen, I've got a picture here, Queen Anne's lace growing in the ditch. So this flower, carrots are related to that. So this is a carrot flower, and this is Queen Anne's lace. Look pretty similar. So they are of the same family. Carrots are a biennial crop, which is basically it takes 2 years to complete its life cycle. So the first year is when it puts down roots and leaves and things like that, and then the second year is when it will fruit and flower. So we really only care about the roots with carrots, so usually we'll turn it into an annual crop and we'll plant it every single year. So a lot of people won't, leave it for the second year to get the seeds off the top of it. So carrots are biennials. Most people treat them as an annual. There are different types of carrots. Not a lot of people realize that there's all sorts of different types of carrots. So the ones that I have here, these are carrots, carrot seeds. And I'll show you. Carrot seeds are super small. So you can kind of see as they're coming out. I'll move the camera down so you can see them a little bit better. Oh, there we go. So carrot seeds are pretty small. You can see here they're very, very tiny. So when you're planting them, you're probably going to end up planting them pretty close together when you're putting them in there. And then you're going to have to go back in and thin those carrots out. So what you'll end up doing is just planting them in the row. And we recommend when you're all said and done that they're about an inch apart or so. So once you get them planted and they come up, then you'll want to thin them to that 1 inch kind of spacing. So there are different types of carrots. The kind that I have here are Nantas. And Nantas they've got a cone bottom. So I've got a picture of them here in comparison to the other ones. This is actually another post on our page. So if you scroll down a little bit, you'll be able to see this handout a little bit closer up. But this is Nantas. It's got a cone-shaped bottom. There's about 6 to 7 inches long when you're planting them. So it's a really good carrot for this area. You've also got some other types of carrots. You'll see usually when you think of carrots, if I told you, hey, draw me a carrot, you're probably going to draw me a Danvers type carrot. They're about 6 to 7 inches long, so they're decently long. This is a Danvers type carrot. Let's see if I can get it on screen. This is a Danvers type carrot, so the ones that I just found are Danvers type. They've got the cone, or the kind of the thicker top, and they kind of taper down to a point at the bottom. So that's the Danvers type. Then there's Imperator, sorry. Those are really long, thin, skinny carrots. This is actually what they used to make baby carrots out of. So baby carrots are not just small little tiny carrots, although you can grow those too. That's not typically what they use for baby carrots, but they'll take these Imperators and they will cut them down into the size of baby carrots. So if you learned something today, that's where they get baby carrots from. Then there's the Châtenay type, which grows really well here. Mini carrots, so those are not baby carrots. That's not where baby carrots come from. These are usually more like a ball shape. They're very thick and stocky and short. So if you're doing container gardening, getting this type of carrot is pretty much ideal because it's so skinny or short. So getting those carrots in, since the seeds are small, you're going to want to seed them not too far into the surface, only about 1/4 inch under the surface of the soil. And you will cover them up. Carrots take a long time to come out of the ground. Even though you're planting them just a tiny, tiny bit underneath the soil, they take a really long time to come out of the soil. So what you'll want to do is, when you're planting carrots, is come up with kind of some way to keep them sheltered from not only different weed pressures, because weeds will grow faster than carrots will. So if you want to kind of get a jump start on your weed control early, taking a board and covering up those carrots after you've seeded them in is really helpful. But you do want to watch out as those carrots do start to pop up that you take that board off right away, because it will stunt the growth of the carrots too as they start to grow. So putting that board down, another thing you can do is put grass clippings or mulch down, but you don't actually want to mulch the carrots like you're mulching, a walkway. You will want to just kind of gently put it down so you're reducing that weed pressure. And another thing that helps usually when you're seeding these down in the spring is that sun will beat down on the soil and it will really kind of bake those small little baby carrot plants. So it's really protecting them as well. So if you use a board or some grass clippings or some sort of mulch to kind of just give them a little bit of cover, keep that moisture down in the soil, that's really helpful for when you're growing carrots. So something that you may find when you're growing carrots, you may have, actually I have an example of this. I printed off a picture before I went shopping, and then we actually found a carrot that has this crack in it. This crack is usually due to inconsistent moisture. So either they got really dry or it was super hot. That's usually what happens to these when you plant them in the summer. So you'll usually want to plant your carrots somewhere in April-ish or so. And then you'll harvest them about 2 months later. So you plant them early. You want to plant them, pretty early in this spring, just because they like cool weather. They don't like hot weather. The more days that they have above 70 degrees, it really starts stunting their root growth. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you're giving them the best chance of success. So getting them in the cool season, you can plant them all the way up until August 1st. Sometimes those later summer crops into the fall turn out really well. You can leave them in the ground, and once the frost happens, those carrots will start storing sugars, and they'll actually be sweeter than they would be during the summer. If you get a really bitter carrots, those are usually ones that are growing during the summer, and that just turns the flavor of the carrot bitter. Some other issues you might run into when you're growing carrots, they might look like this. That just means that your soil is kind of hard, or maybe it ran into a rock or something like that, and the carrot wants to form a nice root down, and if it runs into resistance, then it will kind of branch off and start forming all sorts of other types of roots, and that's what's going on in this picture here. So if you want to use a nice sandy soil, something that's kind of got some movement to it. The clays, especially in this area, can be kind of detrimental to forming those perfect, carrots like this, where they're just straight up and down and don't have any forks in them. Something else you might find, I found one of these in the grocery store too. So it might have like a burnt tip. You might see a burnt tip on your carrot just like this. That's called sunburn. This is what it'll look like on the actual carrot. So you can see here it's kind of green at the top. Now if you watched our potato video, we talked about that with our potatoes as well. So with the potatoes, when it turns green like that, it's actually harmful to humans. That compound will form with what the potato is made out of, will form a compound called solanine, and that is harmful to humans. But in carrots, that compound does not form. It's made out of different stuff. So this is actually okay to eat. I wouldn't recommend it because it's kind of bitter. So I would cut this off, but it actually is not harmful to humans at all. So if you watched our potato video, it's harmful in potatoes, but not in carrots. So it's kind of a fun tip. Another thing you might find is this picture down here where the carrots are all hairy and gross. That's a condition called Aster Yellows, and usually you won't see the hairs obviously when they're growing because they're underneath the ground. But you will notice on the carrot itself will kind of turn like yellow and make kind of almost look like it has spray damage. If that's happening, you may want to dig up a carrot or two and see if you've got this forming, because this will, one thing, it will turn your carrot bitter, but it won't usually kill the carrots, but they won't taste that great. And so these hairs on the carrots will start to form, and it's just not appealing for anybody. It's not a good texture. It doesn't taste the greatest. So that's something really easy to fix though. If you've had Aster Yellows before, it doesn't overwinter or stay on dead plant material. So if you've had it, it's a bacteria and it just kind of goes away. So that is something to keep in mind. It comes from insects. Usually insects carry that bacteria onto your carrots. Good thing with carrots though, there really aren't a lot of pests associated with carrots like there can be with other crops. So you don't have to worry about that as much as you do weeds. So if you can stay on top of the weeds, usually there's not a ton of insect problems that you have to worry about with carrots. So choosing a good soil is really important, and keeping those weeds down. So one last thing I did want to talk about is cooking your carrots. So there's tons of different ways to cook carrots: steaming them, eating them just raw with some dip. You can roast them. There's all sorts of different ways: sauteed, baked into casseroles, all sorts of different ways you can use carrots. You do want to store carrots away from other things that produce a chemical called ethylene, which is a ripener. So your apples, pears, tomatoes, peppers, things like that, store your carrots away from them. Not only will they'll turn bitter and they just won't taste the best. So I know we have a produce drawer at home, and that's usually where I would put all our fruits and vegetables. But once I was putting them in there, it seemed like they always just tasted funny. And it's because our apples and pears also lived in that same drawer. So once I separated those out and used a different drawer for the vegetables and different drawer for the fruits, that really seemed to clear that up. So that's something to keep in mind too. So that's all I've got today for our quick dive into carrots and carrot production. Hope you learned something new. Hope you can be a better consumer next time you are shopping for carrots in the grocery store or your local farmer's market. And thank you for joining us this month. We hope to see you next month for February's Harvest of the Month Family Harvest Box Maple Syrup. If you do want to register for that, check out our link at bit.ly/familyharvestbox to get registered today. Thanks everybody. Bye.